Hey, I'm Daniel and one of my favorite hobbies is flying around in Google Earth. It's not always about cities. I can simply explore our world in front of a PC or tablet. And what always fascinated me is the sheer vastness of the far north, especially Canada. Thousands of kilometers of forests, lakes and occasionally ice bears or any other type of bears. And right where those forests fade into the open prairie, you'll find a city, a very big city actually. Over 1 million people living hundreds of kilometers from the next big urban center, surrounded by forests up north, endless farm fields and pipelines, sitting right in the middle of what looks like nowhere. And yet there it is, Edmonton, Alberta. It's one of the northernmost major cities in the world. We have winters that can hit -40 degrees, summers with 17 hours of daylight, and it stretches out across the land in every direction, like it's got infinite space to use. Honestly, compared to that, Germany feels a little claustrophobic.
What does claustrophobic mean?
It means he's afraid of Santa Claus.
No, it doesn't.
But why? Why is such a big city up here in the first place? How did it get this sprawling and industrial, but also kinda beautiful? Well, it turns out it's all about where it sits, what's under the ground and how people learn to survive up here. So today we'll fly over the North Saskatchewan River, follow the pipelines to the oil sands, see how sprawl dominates its urban design and find out how people live through one of the coldest big city winters on Earth. This is Edmonton. When you zoom out on Google Earth, you can tell immediately. Edmonton doesn't exist despite its geography, it exists because of it. The North Saskatchewan River cuts deep into the prairie, carving a green ribbon right through the middle of the city. Long before anyone thought about oil or highways, this river was the main route across western Canada, a liquid highway for traders and explorers. In 1795, the Hudson's Bay Company built Fort Edmonton right on its banks, part trading post, part lifeline. Over a century later, when the railways expanded west, they followed the same logic the traders had: flat land, water access and endless room to grow. By 1905, when Alberta became a province, Edmonton was chosen as the capital, not because it was the biggest city, but because it was centrally placed between farmland to the south and the resource frontier to the north. Once the railway connected it to the rest of the continent, Edmonton transformed from a remote fort into a booming prairie city almost overnight. The river valley that once carried furs now cuts straight through the downtown, lined with bridges, trails and parkland. It's more than just beautiful scenery. It's a geographic spine that defined where neighborhoods formed and where the city kept expanding. And today, the same valley forms something extraordinary: the North Saskatchewan River Valley Park System, a connected chain of green spaces stretching roughly 48 kilometers through the city, covering around 7,400 hectares. That's about 22 times larger than New York Central Park. That must be awesome in the summer. The park is the largest continuous stretch of urban parkland in North America, a natural corridor that reminds you this entire city is basically centered around this one river. So when people call Edmonton the gateway to the north, it's not just a nickname. For a century, everything moving into northern Canada, from grain and timber to oil rigs and freight, has passed through here first. And that brings us to what really turned Edmonton from a prairie town into a metropolis: the discovery of oil and industrial power that came with it. Canada's oil is different. When you see an area like this, you'll probably think of mining, and that's exactly what it is. But here we are not digging for coal or copper, we are digging for oil. And this site honestly breaks my heart. The poor forests. The Athabasca oil sands around Fort McMurray hold one of the largest petroleum deposits on Earth. Instead of drilling deep wells, the oil here is trapped in a thick mixture of sand, clay and bitumen just below the surface. Massive shovels scoop it up, and those giant trucks carry the material to processing plants. There, heat and water separate the heavy bitumen from the sand, producing a dense tar-like crude that's too thick to flow on its own. So it's either upgraded on site or sent hundreds of kilometers south through pipelines to be refined. And that's where Edmonton comes into the picture. It's the processing and distribution hub of the entire oil sands network, the place where the raw bitumen becomes fuel, plastics and chemicals that power the rest of Canada and beyond. From above, you can see the pattern: rail yards, storage tanks, industrial plants and pipelines stretching towards every horizon. It's not an exaggeration to say that nearly every drop of oil moving out of Western Canada passed somewhere near Edmonton. The city grew into the control center of the entire system, the place where energy, engineering and logistics meet, and that shaped everything: its economy, its skyline, even the way it expanded. Oil booms brought jobs, construction and new suburbs. You can almost read global oil prices in the rhythm of the city's growth. But Edmonton's story doesn't stop here. Today it's also where Alberta is experimenting with what comes next: hydrogen production, carbon capture technology and cleaner industry built on the same backbone that once ran on oil alone. When you look at Edmonton from above, the first thing you notice is how absolutely wide it is. The city simply doesn't want to end, but eventually it fades into farmland with ever expanding new suburban developments. And that's because in Edmonton, space obviously was never a problem. There are no mountains to block expansion, no oceans or lakes, no old stone walls like in Europe, just flat prairie in every direction. So as the population grew, the city simply spread out. New suburbs were cheaper to build than densifying old ones, and wide roads made cars the easiest way to get anywhere. By the 1970s, Edmonton was already defined by low density and long commutes, something that still shapes daily life today. That attitude carried into planning too. Instead of building upward, Edmonton kept building outward, annexing nearby towns like Strathcona, Beverly and Jasper Place. Each one added more land and more houses, until Edmonton became one of the most geographically extensive cities in North America. And when the Anthony Henday Drive ring road was completed, it gave the city a literal boundary to fill. And even that wasn't enough. So let's expand it further until we can build a second ring road. Right? But the sprawl isn't the whole story. In the past decade, Edmonton has also started to look inward again. In downtown, the Ice District rose from empty parking lots, a skyline of glass towers around Rogers Place Arena. It's the biggest urban renewal project in Western Canada, and a sign that even in a city built on cars and endless space, people are coming back to the core. Living in Edmonton is a bit of a paradox. It's one of the coldest major cities in the world, but also one of the sunniest. Winters here can reach -40 degrees, yet the city still gets over 2,300 hours of sunshine every year. For a few months in winter, life slows down. Snow covers the streets, the river valley turns into a wide canyon, and people move through tunnels and pathways that connect downtown buildings like a heated maze. It's a city built to survive the cold, with insulated homes, underground parking and festivals that celebrate winter instead of hiding from it. There's even an event called Deep Freeze, where locals carve ice, skate and eat outside at -20. But when spring finally comes around, everything changes. The same city that spent months in darkness bursts into color. Bikes fill the river valley, patios open and the sun barely sets. In June, Edmonton gets 17 hours of daylight, and the long evenings make the city feel twice as alive. Living here means adapting to extremes. That mix of cold and light shapes daily life, from how people build their homes to how they spend their free time. And even though it's far from anywhere else, life here feels surprisingly complete. There's a strong community spirit, an art scene that punches above its weight, and a sense of pride in making a tough place work. Edmonton isn't just another northern city, it's a place that learned how to thrive in the middle of the cold, and that's what makes it stand out. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and you can also support my work directly on Patreon. That helps the channel a lot and makes it stay sponsorship free. To all of you who already decided to support me there, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.